This is James Hill. Welcome to the Melbourne Ukulele Festival 2013.
Okay, I'm here with James Hill at the Melbourne Ukulele Festival. Thanks for agreeing to the interview, James. And
No worries.
it was a great performance last night at the opening night.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, the first thing that happened to us when we got off the plane was we got ambushed by about 25 ukulele players, and they sang us in and played us in. This was in Newcastle.
Oh, okay.
And so that was quite an introduction. That got things off to a good start, and then when we got to Melbourne, which I'm trying to say right, Melbourne.
How would you say that?
I'd say Melbourne.
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 That's
right?
close. But people do say Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Yeah.
We got to see the penguins. Bernard took us down to see the penguins.
The penguins at Phillip Island?
No, at the closer one here, the little breakwater.
Oh, in St Kilda?
Yeah.
Down just on the bay there?
Yeah,
Oh,
and I love penguins.
it's a great spot too. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
So even before we got to the music, we were having a great time. So it's been great. I mean, look at this. It's not the Canadian winter that we came from, so we're happy. Isn't that a pretty piece?
That is.
One of my favorite John King arrangements.
Have you got any surprises for us this time in Melbourne? It's your first visit, but are there some surprises?
You mean in terms of?
Of music and a few new songs?
Well, we're hi.
Great show, buddy.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Well done.
Glad you enjoyed it. We've always got a few surprises up our sleeve. I mean, we had Anne's working on a new album right now, and I'm backing her up on some of those tunes. I'm working on a new album right now, and we're starting to get bold enough to actually play some of the new stuff live. So, we've always got a few tricks up our sleeve.
You're enjoying playing together more these days?
Yeah, we do a lot more of it now. It used to be that I was touring almost always on my own, and now it's we're almost always together. So.
James, you've taken the uke in weird and wonderful directions. Are you exploring new directions as we speak?
I'd say so. For me, the great obsession right now is songwriting, and the last album was all songs, and the new album that I'm working on is mostly songs as well. So, it's how the ukulele fits into that songwriting adventure without losing my love for the instrument itself. I don't want it to just be a backdrop, but at the same time I want to be able to go places with the lyrics and the poetry. So that's an interesting mix to come from a very instrumental side of things where I started, this kind of virtuoso, whatever that means, but that was kind of the handle that myself and a few other people were using for some years. Ukulele virtuoso. But to try to move beyond that to try to move beyond that without just saying, well, let's just get more virtuosic. I don't want to just keep pushing down that same road. I think there's other roads that we can go down.
Other directions. And lyrics, you mentioned poetry?
Yeah, well, that's been my big focus in the past couple of years for myself. I just got to a point where I felt I had to, say something. The ukulele has a great vocabulary, but it can't replace language.
No.
I mean, it would be crazy to think that it could. You hear often people say, where words fail, music speaks. This is kind of a cliche.
This dollar is an old-fashioned Helmets, kinking the hose to the diving bell. I'm as rich as a thief wishing well. This dollar is an old-fashioned hell.
But I also think that the reverse is true, where music fails, sometimes words can do the trick. And for me, I've been really taken with that in the last couple of years.
There's a song on your Man with a Broken Heart, or
Man with a Love Song.
Man with a Love Song. And there's a song in there with a very poignant lyric. It's about a kink in the diving bell.
Oh yeah.
And that's a very strong image of a guy, at the bottom of the ocean, and there's a kink in the hose.
Yeah.
And he's going to die.
Yeah.
He's in great danger.
Yeah.
It's a good line. I
Thanks.
like that song.
Yeah. No, that's a little bit of a twisted song, but I like the fact that it's that line is it's so delicate.
It is a delicate line,
and yet so dangerous.
It's delicate and dangerous. That's
Yeah.
probably what I like about it so
Yeah.
much. James, I've seen you perform a few times live.
Yeah.
How important is toe tapping to you?
You mean for me or the
No,
audience?
for you.
Oh.
Because you do a lot of toe tapping and footwork.
Yeah, I
What's
like
that
it.
about?
I that comes from the French-Canadian fiddle tradition, really. For me, that's where I first fell in love with that sound, the foot tapping. That you find that in Cape Breton as well, up near where we live. But mostly, I've been influenced by the Quebecois traditional style of foot tapping, and I also play fiddle, so I take some inspiration from the traditional fiddle players, and I just I like the way it feels when the whole body's going, and the hands and the feet and it all works together. You get a bit of a momentum going, it's a bit of a dance. I like the way that feels, and I like the way it sounds. So
Can you play ukulele without tapping your toe?
yeah. I have to think about it, but.
And what advice, maybe the last question, you're here in Melbourne, what do you think of the Melbourne Uke Fest in general, Melbourne in general, and what advice would you give to Melbourne ukers who are starting out, young people, just taking up the ukulele, what advice would you give them?
Sure. Well, that's kind of three questions, but no, this is great. I mean, I love the buildings and the architecture and the ambience of Melbourne. It's something I'll definitely take with me. I mean, the ballroom last night was it was like a time machine, just being in a different thanks, like being in a different world, really. It's kind of, it just takes you somewhere. I think the city just takes people places, and
Does it remind you of home at all?
Not really. Not in terms of the architecture. I mean, I heard somebody comparing Melbourne a little bit to the Wild West. In terms of the facades and all these great old buildings along the main street here, and in that sense, Halifax has a similar kind of, this facade work is kind of similar to the old captain's homes and that kind of thing in harbour towns. But I think that they've done a great job here with the community of uke players. I mean, that's what it really takes. You can get up there and play your heart out or play your hands off, and if there's not a community of people there to support and to sing along, it's all for nothing. But
your advice to upcoming, new ukulele players, what advice would you give them?
Work hard. Work harder than you thought you'd have to. If you want to make a dent in the ukulele world, but at the same time, you can't lose the sense of humor, I think, that's built into the ukulele. It's a funny mix, having to be so serious about something and yet so lighthearted at the same time. And I think the way that you make that, strike that balance, ends up being your calling card in a way. So, up to you to figure out how you do it, but you're going to have to do it, because if you lose either side of it, if you take it for granted, and if you don't work at it, you'll never get anywhere. And if you completely lose yourself in the seriousness of it, and forget the humor and the lightheartedness of the instrument, you'll also never get anywhere. So good luck.
Thanks, James. Thanks for talking to us. Before we go, can we hear a little bit of ukulele for just old time's sake?
Sure, old time. Here's a little old time tune that I like called Johnson Boys.